105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Good morning, 7:36 here on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. And Julie, we're joined by a good friend, Asra Nomani, journalist, activist from Fairfax County, who was part of the team leading the charge against the racist, anti-Asian American policies of the Fairfax County School Board and the Thomas Jefferson High School admissions program. And sadly, we got a huge setback yesterday, maybe even the final setback here in terms of the latest fight, where the Supreme Court decided they would not review these admissions policies and they would allow the appeals court decision to stand, which keeps in place discriminatory practices, official government-sanctioned discriminatory practices against Asian American students. Asra Nomani, thank you for joining us. You're, by the way, co-founder of Coalition for TJ. Thank you for joining us, Asra.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys. Do you hear that? Do you hear that lilt in my voice?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That lilt is because there was a gasp yesterday. Yes, there was, and we're not going to give up, you guys. We're not going to give up.
Well, what are the next steps here?
Okay, this is what I just researched. Okay, first of all, this is ridiculous, right? We have the best case possible of the racism of the Fairfax County School Board. We have the text messages, the emails. I mean, they might as well have just written it on their foreheads, right? But this is what happens. This is what I have learned happens in the arc of justice prevailing. You guys know the name Brown versus Board of Education, right?
Sure, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? These are the names that you don't know. Elijah Tinnen versus the Board of Education of Ottawa. Reynolds versus the Board of Education of Topeka. Williams versus the Board of Education of Parsons. There were scores of cases before we had Brown versus Board of Education. And this is what we did, you guys. Julie, you did it. Larry, you did it. Like every single person who listened to us on WMAL did it. We raised consciousness. Like we made this a national issue, that there is this racism that happens that's put forward in this world now in the name of equity. And we don't save it right now for Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, but these guys, they lost yesterday because we're not going to give up. Like we are going to stick with it, and this just means our eyes are going to be on the school board continually.
So I appreciate that, and this is one of the reasons why we love your energy and your enthusiasm, because we always got to keep an upbeat, even in the darkest times. No, you are there. So here, based on the progression that you just described there, leading up to Brown v. Board of Education, a couple of things happened in this country. First of all, the makeup of the Supreme Court changed. I mean, honestly, I don't know how much the makeup of the Supreme Court can change here. But the other thing that happened is that the attitudes in this country changed. The attitudes with regard to segregation changed, and ultimately the Supreme Court sort of reflected that. So I guess that's the frontier that we sort of need to embark upon here. I think we took for granted that most Americans recognized that racism is racism no matter who the victim of that racism is. And I guess that's the education that needs to take place here.
You're so right. A while ago I wanted to be a lawyer, and guess what? I'm going to go become a lawyer now, for sure.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Yeah, this is going to be my next chapter. My dad's 90, and I still have a good 30 years. I can still do.
Oh, there you go. Here's these overachieving Asian Americans again.
I've got another
career.
Watch out, George Mason. So here's the thing. Absolutely. What I was told 20 years ago when I first wanted to go to law school was that, you have to win in the court of public opinion to win in the court of law. And I really do believe that we have educated the court of public opinion. But you know what's so tragic here, Larry? Just to your point exactly, I did the numbers. Like, I know you love the politics, and Julie, you love the politics of this stuff. So 9 Supreme Court justices, right? And we thought that we had a majority. But it turns out that, in fact, Only 2. Okay. Hooray for Samuel Alito for writing the most amazing dissent. Yeah. The most amazing dissent. He warns about the virus that's going to spread of this new racism. Clarence Thomas agreed with him. So we knew we weren't going to probably get the 3 justices, liberal justices, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. But that left us with 4 conservative justices: John Roberts, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. I'm going to get the story of which one of them betrayed us, because those guys, they betrayed us. They showed intellectual cowardice. They went out on an important position, refusing race-based admissions in college. But it's like they grandfathered Fairfax County public schools into the racism, and that's not okay.
Alito had a really interesting comment in his dissent where he says, he says that it was flagrantly wrong what TJ is doing. And he said that it's wrong that the court held up some discrimination against Asian Americans because it was legally tolerable as long as as those who remain overrepresented in the school, meaning as long as there's still a lot of Asians in the school, then we don't have to worry about it, which seems, if that is really, and again, the majority did not really provide a reason why they're not going to put this case on the docket. So you have to wonder, but Alito's pretty much hinting there that they're just like, it's okay for right now.
Yeah, he had such a strong position, and it's to what Larry just said, about public opinion, and what you're saying, Julie, is that you didn't finish your sentence, your thought just now, but you were about to say it seems very something,
Yeah.
And the word to me is callous.
Yeah.
Like, it's callous and cold-hearted about young people. Yeah. Like, we know John Roberts has young kids. Amy Coney Barrett has young kids. Like, this is like the future of any child, every child, and somehow they became callous in this country about Asian kids, because that is our journey now. Like, and what's happening is those kids are getting the message, so they're changing their names, they're trying to look less Asian. They're disowning their ancestry in order to write new scripts that don't connect them at all, to that quota that isn't to be accepted.
So, Asra, we talk about changing the culture, changing hearts and minds, and changing public perception. It's a lot easier to just run for office and change the makeup of the school board. How about instead of becoming a lawyer, you run for school board and you start harnessing all of that energy in the Asian American community who are being discriminated against and put these people out of office?
Yeah, I want to figure it out one day, Larry. I hear you. I've heard you for years. I hear you. I love your call to action.
Because honestly, we don't need the Supreme Court if we win elections and dispose these people who are injecting racism into the admissions policies. Make them defend their racism and harness the energy of the Asian American community, as well as just anybody in Fairfax County who recognizes racism for what it is. Make Carl Frisch stand up there and say, oh, no. It's a good thing that we're keeping qualified Asian American students on the sidelines.
Yeah, and we tried, and then the not one seat was won from the opposition, because the demographics, as you know, in Fairfax County is just like 2-to-1 straight ticket Democrat, and that's the monopoly that destroys actual political discussion, intellectual debate, and that's what's created this monopoly of bad ideas, right? Like it's the Southern Democrats all over again in Northern Virginia, and they've taken root. You remember Luis Lucas even called out the racist the Democrats in Northern Virginia. Yeah. Scott Surville, Carl Frisch, Stella Pekarsky, the whole lot of them, and I love that Samuel Alito called him out too. Yeah. This is a hard day.
Playing the long game.
Well,
yes, exactly.
Asra is going to law school, so maybe we should just get her appointed to the Supreme Court eventually. That will solve some problems.
There's one vote.
Julie, you always have a vision. I love it. I can do it. I've looked at their ages, and I still have time.
You can do it.
All right, thank you. Thank you for joining us today on a little bit of a post-mortem, and we'll get them next time.
No, we will. We are just in our new life, new incarnation, and I love you guys for always being there with us.
It is 7:45 WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the 5s with Jamie Whitten.